In today's episode of a podcast, of course, we have the returning guest of Luminos. Lumi and I got into the thick of it, what we think may happen with Rick Hotto taking over as the GM of Evo, and we got into the nitty-gritty of Guilty Gear Strive. Enjoy. Lumi, thanks for coming back to do a round two of this. You were my first secondary guest. I think you were my second or third guest overall. I don't remember, but I'm happy you're back. A lot has changed since the last time you were on here.
Correct.
Let's start off with TikTok. The first question I ever asked you was why you came to TikTok, right? So it was the first question I think I asked you when you joined. My next question is to you, how's TikTok right now for you?
Good question. So yeah, you're right. A lot's changed. Mm-hmm. And I think in a lot of that change is sort of me trying to find exactly what I want to do in the fighting game community and the space as it's in. And honestly, on the TikTok side, I just thoroughly want to show my passion to other people and also share people's stories with others, whether that's, asking questions or posting the interviews that I do. I just want to share as much as the FGC as I can. The positive sides of it, of course.
I would hope so. Mm-hmm. Your passion. What do you plan on doing? How are you going to show your passion?
Yeah. So my passion is mainly showed, obviously, through the videos that I make and stuff like that. The video content that I'm going to make, I'm going to experiment with a lot, especially next year, 2022. I'm going to definitely try. I'm just going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. But what's been sticking for me as of recently has definitely been sort of these cross-up interviews that I've been doing. Mm-hmm. It's thoroughly just a good time. And overall, it kind of helps everyone. And I guess I would say, to put a pin on it all, it would be, I want to create a space and a community in fighting games where we can actually have discussions. Okay. Because you see a lot of discussion happening online, yet there's no solutions or there's nothing being done about those things. Mm-hmm. I would personally like to help change that in any way that I can. And hosting a platform in which I talk about fighting games, whether it be certain issues within them or just about the games themselves, and tossing ideas out there and getting people commenting and talking about it in a space that's more designed for discussion, I think is an awesome thing to do.
Oh, nice. So that's on the Cross Up podcast, right?
Yeah.
I know I was part of the first one with you guys, and that was it was a lot of fun. Being able to rap about what's going on in the world. So this is something I've been asking a lot of people. How do you get your fighting game news?
Well, if it's not hearing it from you, because you're pretty well versed in that, I gotta say Twitter.
Yeah. It's kind of sad. It's so sad, man. I remember back in the day, Event Hubs was kind of the go-to thing to read, and now it's just more of they only cover stuff if it's top tier interesting. You know what I mean? They do tournament results, and that's it, and it's not what it used to be, which is kind of sad. Do you think that'd be something you'd be interested in, as a way for discussions and stuff on your interviews and podcasts, so you can be doing topical conversations and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully later on I can get some players to talk about some offline events and events in general. I already did a couple of videos basically doing the Event Hubs sort of tournament reporting.
Yeah.
And I actually thoroughly enjoyed making those videos and showcasing not just the scores and who won, but also highlights, because I feel like that's something that should be easily accessible. Why isn't there an ESPN of the FGC?
Yeah.
Showing you, how, Brian F hit this sick dash punch for the round KO, or Daru Ino absolutely mixing someone and getting a perfect. That's something that should be apparent and obvious and easy to access, I think. So, I mean, going in the future, I'd totally cover stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's also something like I've noticed that no one really covers that kind of stuff. Like you can read up on it, you know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
I think it was Hold Back to Block or it was Action Games. It was one of those two YouTube channels. They pretty much said like, you know what would be awesome if there was like a wrestling show for a fighting game community. Dude, I would watch that in a heartbeat. That's not even a question. I would love that. Absolutely would love that. Because honestly, like you've probably had this where there was just like that one person that you just really, really wanted to beat and watch the like the grind to get to that point. And sometimes in wrestling, that was the same thing. And sometimes that wrestler didn't win and they had to start all over again. I think it would be really cool to watch like certain people like rise through the ranks, see some of like the kings fall down. I don't know. I think I would really thrive. Excuse me, a lot of players would thrive, and I think I would really enjoy watching that if that was the thing. What would a good name be for that?
I don't exactly know, but I think you bring up a really interesting topic.
Yeah.
If there's any sort of like WWE aspect of the FGC, that's going to be an interesting time if that ever comes out. Because, I mean, I mentioned it before how the FGC just pretty much values players as like number one over sort of other types of content that's being made in this space. And in my humble opinion, I think that's not necessarily a good thing for the scene moving forward. I think that players should be a focus, but not the only focus, if that starts to make sense. Because, like, let's be real, putting a pro player, a pro, like, fighting game player in a space or even remotely comparing them to a WWE wrestler, that's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you had these WWE wrestlers that couldn't talk the talk, but they were muscular and they could beat you up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would be the case in, you know, the FGC as well. There'd be these guys that would absolutely destroy you in Street Fighter. And then, you know, you ask them to cut a promo and they're like, oh, you're free, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Like some people, like that. Don't get me wrong. There are some people in the fighting game community that have made their entire careers doing that. Look at like LTG, like that's literally his entire career is just calling people out and just saying the most vile, rude things to people, and he's made millions, probably off of it. So, I would like to see more of it. To be honest, I still would like to see, because that would bring an extra layer, right? So like the people that are godlike at the game would actually have that extra layer where they could become more popular. Like someone like Punk is a good example. I feel like
you're seeing that now with Punk.
Yeah, personally. Punk is a good, let's be frank, is a good shit talker, right? Like he has no problem going toe to toe, and that's a mental thing, dude. Like that could get into like as an example, like say he goes up against who's another really big top tier player right now in Street Fighter. Who just won the Kumatai? Why can't I remember his name?
Problem X.
Like if they go back and forth, if Punk goes in there and he's just messing with him in like all these promos and does all this stuff ahead of time, and Problem X is like that may mess with him. Like that's a whole part of like the fighting game community as a whole, or just being a player. Dude, mental is there. I'm gonna be honest. I psyched myself out today. I lost to Xeno Broly in my own game today. But this because I know he's one of like the top Killer Instinct players in the world. Of course I'm gonna be scared of facing him.
That's totally a fair assessment.
Yeah,
that's totally fair.
Yeah,
you know, it's interesting that you mentioned that. I feel like we got to be careful when we sort of suggest those things, because you take a look at a person like Punk and how much they like, you know, absolutely shit talk, and you know are quite entertaining to watch. Let's be real. Like you just enjoy to see the flame wars on Twitter and stuff. However, you know, I feel like in order to be a champ, you got to take an L like one and keep it in game, dude, because these things can get toxic and just out of hand very quickly.
Yeah.
I actually made a whole video about ego and like mentality when it comes to fighting games. I figured most of that stuff's already figured out, really. Like, you know, you watch Say Jam and those guys, and they already can tell you exactly what you need to think or how you should go into fighting games mentally. My only contribution to that conversation is just don't take like it's a video game.
Yeah, chill
like,
out, dude.
Yeah, like relax. You know, like you're
I
nice
know,
at the video game.
like I'm
Good
not
job.
the one that has money on the line. Like that is their longevity. You know what I mean? So I like I
Hmm.
guess there's that level that we don't understand about it. But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, as I said when I was on your podcast, don't be a dick. Like
yeah,
just don't be a
it's
dick,
that
man.
simple.
It's that simple. So let's talk about the community a little bit farther. I really want to talk about this, and you and me kind of were bouncing ideas earlier about this, and that is the Rick Hado, the Hado, is now the new GM of Evo.
First of all, congrats.
Yeah, dude,
Okay.
that is. I made a video about it. I tweeted about it, dude. There was just a sense of like relief, like when that happened. Like I think a lot of people were like the last 2 years have
Thank
been very
God.
rough, and I think having such like a prominent figure being put in charge of, he's not in charge of the FGC, but more or less he's in charge of the biggest event of the FGC. It's a big deal.
Yeah,
I'm very. I
absolutely.
think I don't speak. I think I may speak for everyone here, but I think we're all pretty content with Rick being put there. I didn't
I
see a
think
single
that's
bad
not
thing about it.
controversial at all.
Yeah, that's
I think that's a fair statement to say. I think a lot of people wrote off Evo this year because it was online, and that
mhm,
is completely fair.
yeah,
Um, you can have a large scale online tournament. And I don't think that's the issue. I just think when you're saying the absolute best competition, I feel like it has to be offline. It
yeah,
just has to be.
yeah,
And Evo being online just doesn't work for it, unless if it's a spin-off. I feel like the main event needs to be offline. And for the longest time, we were thinking, well, even if there was an offline Evo, what the hell is going to happen? Because it's owned by Sony now. We don't know what's happening, what they're going to promote. Is it only going to be like PlayStation games? Like, what's happening? And all of a sudden, we get this like beacon of hope saying that, like, hey, by the way, Rick is running this. And I mean, Rick's good people.
yeah.
He's
Like
obviously
I
been running
haven't had
combo
the
breaker.
pleasure yet to meet Rick, but like when I do, I'm gonna be like a little starstruck. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
Yeah, me
hello,
too,
sir. How
dude.
are you? um,
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but he's good people. I'm assuming, right?
yeah, yeah,
But, yeah, and also just he knows how to run an event. So like, there's just that level of confidence that I have now, and that's a refreshing change to see.
with him running Combo Breaker for all these years, and that kind of got started as like a regular. That got started, if I'm correct, because of KI. That got started with Killer Instinct, I believe, and then it just like evolved from there. And like, I think I could be wrong about that. I'm not 100% sure, but what what I want, and this is I think a big issue because we've been out of the fighting game world, and it had been stuck inside for the last 2 years because of the pandemic. Like people are urging for something big, and I think Evo is clearly the big one that people want to go to because it's kind of the
Yeah,
renowned fighting game community event. Um, but with him in charge, it kind of makes me wonder: could it be bigger than just like? I think this could be something beyond just fighting games. Almost, this could be like a love letter to competitive gaming as a whole.
yeah. I mean, you take a look at the language that they were talking about during the interview,
Mm-hmm.
and they said that Evo is supposed to be the celebration of fighting games,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm just gonna throw this idea out here. What other sort of what celebration can usually be in terms of like a convention?
Yep.
You see like these anime conventions all the time. That's just a celebration of anime, or Comic Con is like another good one.
Yeah.
The celebration of comic books and the characters and superheroes. And I think we are definitely at the point in which we could totally have a competitive gaming convention
Mm-hmm.
or some sort of just hall dedicated to fighting games or just competitive games in general.
Yeah. Like I think a convention. I think a lot of people because I've been to a couple conventions. I actually don't know if you have or not been to some
Yeah,
stuff or
I
not,
have.
but when I went to Generation Con years when I was younger, and it was just such a wild experience. There's one panel that I was like talking about like the new editions of Dungeons and Dragons at the time. I think they were just about to drop 4.0. So we were sitting there listening, and like we heard something that like dragons were Dragonborn were gonna be base races. We're like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
like I remember that stuff, dude. It was so cool. And like you'd walk through around, there's so much space. There's like one place that there's just thousands beyond thousands of people playing Magic the Gathering, and then you walk over a little bit farther, people are playing like 40K, and then you go even farther, there's like a room that just had so many vendors, it blew my mind. Like so many vendors were there. And then outside there's just a bunch of people cosplaying, and then there's food vendors, and then there's another room, there's a giant panel going on. There's just so many things always happening, and I feel there's enough things in the fighting game community and the outskirts of the fighting game community, which people will get into that. But like, I think a convention would be amazing. Like, can you imagine us sitting there when like Bamco comes up and announces like Tekken 8 or Tekken Tag 3?
That's
Dude, I'd lose my mind. I would lose my mind.
Like, companies I forgot who said this. Someone that I knew said that companies really enjoy conventions because it's just a good space to release stuff. And imagine if instead of being disappointed by E3, we would just watch, like, Evo would be the place to be if you wanted to see if there was a new fighting game coming out. I think that would be awesome. By the way, just want to say this is all speculatory stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna like mention, like, we don't know, but this is what we want. You know what I mean?
This is like a wish list. Think of it almost as that. But yeah, I mean, outside of that whole convention idea, because that can seem a little unrealistic or like too big for certain people. Honestly, what changes would you see to sort of like the offline tournament experience?
I think the biggest thing that needs to happen, well, obviously we're still in a pandemic. There's a bunch of rules we got to follow, which I think that I haven't seen any giant issues with that online. It's pretty much, wear your damn mask or don't come to the tournament. It's pretty simple, putting that out of the way. But I think the biggest thing for tournaments is a lot of these big tournaments, like a big issue is actually space. You know what I mean? Like if there is so much space or too little space, if there's not enough space, it's cramped. If you have too much space, it looks like no one's there. And that happens all the time. I remember going to Smash tournaments when I was younger and going to thinking it's going to be this gigantic group. There's like maybe 40 people there, but we're in like an auditorium. Like no one's going to be there. You know what I mean? It's like, it looks really cramped. I think we can do something really cool. And I like to give an example of like BlizzCon. I know they're in a lot of hot water, putting that aside, but BlizzCon is a good example of someone who's like, they just left E3 a long time ago and they've been doing their own thing because they have the fan base to support it. I think fighting games as a whole can do that very well because nothing is more hyped than character reveals. Nothing is more hyped in the fighting game community than game reveals. Dude, people get psyched over patch notes. Dude, like,
like just change it to the game. Like it doesn't even have to be like a new character or new like entry in the series. It's just, hey, we buffed this guy, and everyone's like, oh my god, that's insane.
Like I think I don't know if you've I'm assuming you've watched the Killer Instinct documentary, right? Yeah. So like, there's at one point they literally just took time out of the way and explained all the patch notes to each character before the tournament. Like, dude, I want to be there for that experience. I legit would have loved to have been there for that experience. That would have been amazing.
Imagine a patch note rollout in which it is released in a public setting, like a panel, and you have the devs there explaining the intentions out loud.
Yeah.
To why they changed things. That would be insane. Obviously, that's so unrealistic. And I feel like no dev would want to do that because they would just be thrown tomatoes and stuff like that.
Like, I feel like it'd be more popular at like obviously American like developers. I can't imagine like Arc System, Nintendo, Bandai Namco, or Capcom. Maybe Capcom. Capcom is gotten really realized that the North American audience really loves their games. So like they may actually put the money in. But like and it's not even there. It's like there's like a lot of people talk about the like mystique of E3 is because a lot of new developers and like designers, that's where like special moments happen where like they're walking down and they see that guy like, hey, I got an elevator pitch for you. blah 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 blah. And that's how games like Kingdom Hearts were made, dude.
Yeah.
So like, imagine if we had that at E3, or excuse me, at Evo, where we can like have these new indie developers start working on newer and bigger and better ideas. It'll only make the fighting game community better.
Just to have that in one building alone is probably really powerful.
Yeah.
I want these American devs to talk about to these JP devs about a couple things, bro.
Yeah.
Like
first off, rollback.
Have a community manager. Just
Yeah.
have one person that we can just tweet to and be like, "Hey, what's happening?" And they go, "Here's what's happening." Like, that's something that I know NRS did. I don't know what the status on that's like now.
We don't even know if NetherRealm's a company right now, to be completely fair. Like,
so bad example probably.
Yeah,
but
like
the idea is there. Like, you know, just some sort of like manager that the community can interface with instead of, you know, just being added by a bunch of random people.
Yeah. And like thinking of like all these new developers, like I've been raving about Serial Killers, Metal Revolution, like all these new amazing indie games I've been thinking about forever now. And like this is the perfect opportunity for these games to show up and to show the build. Like have like like VIPs can go check it out. You know what I mean? This is the perfect opportunity. And this is on an even bigger scale, like what I just said. Maybe Capcom will take one of the Capcom guys will go down and check out some of these indie games. And they go back, dude, their game is better than ours. We need to go hire them, man. Like, like that's.
I don't know what kind of rollback they got. But
exactly. Like, and like they also can like firsthand see people playing their games and hear it. For real. And it's not just people like complaining and following the leader as they all see on Twitter. You actually firsthand can see people enjoying your game. You know what I mean? And I think that's huge. Like if they did Evo and have like the pre-build of Street Fighter 6, have like just Chun-Li and Ryu in it. Right? You go and you get to play those two characters and you like, and people get to see what the game's going to be. Like that would be amazing. I think everyone would lose their mind. That would also drive ticket sales through the roof if you said we're going to have the pre-build of Street Fighter 6 there.
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And I feel like
we may be like getting this in our head now.
Yeah.
But
I hate being realistic.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I hate it cuz you know how like that there's probably moving parts we don't even know that have to go into that. But I mean, just as a speculation, I feel like that could be a very strong event. And how would that sort of affect future offline majors or events in the future? You think we would see that a little bit more from existing?
Well, I know some already kind of do. If I'm like, I know Combo Breaker is a tournament, right? But there is a mystique. There are vendors there. There are like people selling food. Like people go there for that reason. Like I'm like this year at Combo Breaker. Honestly, I'm half expecting to hearing some type of announcement at Frosty Faustings. Like I'm almost waiting to see. Like I don't know, but I'm assuming we're gonna maybe see like a demo build, maybe Black Dahlia from Skullgirls, maybe like maybe an announcement of like some type of like rollback for a new game. Like Persona Ultimate like Arena was like, yes, we are looking into a rollback for this. Like that's gonna be like, to me those little announcements are huge to me. I don't know about like everybody else, but as somebody who wants to cover fighting game news, like that is like, I love that kind of stuff, and it's hype. It's like, and maybe I'm overthinking. I think the fighting game community is just a more hype community than other ones. Like you don't see people lose their minds getting excited over a Call of Duty trailer anymore.
Not necessarily, I would say.
Yeah. Like
I just there's an insane amount of passion in this particular competitive gaming community, the FGC, which is the best competitive esports whatever community you want it to be. It's the best.
Yeah,
I'll say it again.
I have no argument there.
No, this is for the audience. This isn't for you.
Yeah, okay.
And so I just wanted to say that like we have so much passion. Just like I'm sure if there was some sort of hybrid event or some sort of new thing, people would show out. Yeah. People would totally show out. Now that we're on the topic of that, I actually wanted to talk to you about release and like announcements and stuff like that. And sort of how does that affect your sort of like content cycle? Because you said you cover video game news or FGC news, and I was curious as to like, how exactly are you going to do that in the future, or how are you doing that now? Because I see you're on TikTok a lot talking about the latest thing that's out.
Yeah. It's always a day late. I'll tell you that. I always post whatever's happened. Like, I saw something today. I'm doing a video about it tomorrow.
That's totally fair.
During big events, like I try this E3, I tried my best, but luckily for everyone, no announcements happened for fighting games at E3 this year, which was very outside of Kazuya getting added into Smash. I'm not gonna talk about the irony of that one, but when it comes to like trying to put out information, like I will keep my eyes throughout the day. If there is no real big news, I usually would just do one of my OC skits that I have thousands prepared, ready to go. But when it comes to big events like this, like I actually was struggling at Evo because something kept on happening. Like I actually had to like cut ideas because I thought something was more important. Like I remember, I think it was I cut the idea of what was it? I was gonna cut something for because I wanted to make sure everyone knew that Umbrella got added into Skullgirls. Oh no, vice versa. I cut Skullgirls. I cut Umbrella for something else and said that Umbrella was gonna be added later. Because a lot of when that kind of stuff happens, I may just have to like bite the bullet and put out extra videos that day because I just may have to do that. However, I could always use them down the line. But trying to cover fighting game news, at least in my style, it's kind of difficult because like I try to cover one thing a day. That's news.
That's a lot, dude. That's a lot. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate your service.
I got you. I want people to come to Phil, of course, the channel. Like, oh, what happened in fighting games yesterday? Like, I would love to be that guy. That's
unironically what I do already. Yeah. Like, I just go like, what happened in fighting games? I could go on Twitter, or I can just see Phil's. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, that happened. Cool.
Did you? I actually want to bring this back to you for a second. You've actually had a massive problem the last couple months, and you've been kind of talking to everyone about it. And I haven't really ever had this issue. You've been in one of the worst character crises I've ever seen in my life for Guilty Gear Strive. So can you give me some like details of like how you've been like bouncing around every single character, like your gripes with Strive? Let's hear it, Lumi. Give us the deal.
All right. I'm gonna take you on a journey. All right. I'm gonna take you on the journey that is my time with Guilty Gear Strive.
Sure.
Game comes out. Don't play it for the first 2 months. Just was busy with stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I end up buying it, immediately picked Zato, and I was like, dang, that's crazy. This guy's hard. It was my first introduction of puppet characters and stuff like that. My first Guilty Gear, realistically. I played Plus R for like 30 minutes. So, like, I wouldn't even count that. Like, Strive is my first Guilty Gear.
Sure.
So, tried out Zato, thoroughly enjoyed Zato, yet realized over the next 2 months that you don't really play Guilty Gear, you're playing Zato. Just the way he operates is so different from the rest of the cast. Therefore, I wasn't really using a lot of the system mechanics like, you know, RCs and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people saying that well, that's just a skill issue. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he was really hard. After a while, I got really jaded because I realized that I'm putting a lot of time and effort into this game and grinding it out. And I have to spend more time and I have to try harder than other characters do as a Zato player, I would say.
Oh, right? Yeah, like puppet characters are always just the extra level.
I thought to myself that was just personally overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you know what? Let me try someone easier. I'll try out Kai.
Sure.
I started to enjoy playing Kai a lot. He's simple. A lot of people say he's like the plain white bread of Guilty Gear. And I totally rock with that. Totally nothing wrong with plain white bread, guys. Absolutely nothing wrong. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's a Shoto, like more or less.
He's a Shoto. Yeah. Played him for a bit, enjoyed it, and then realized that, oh, why am I playing Kai when I could just play Soul? Well, I have Soul a bit. Didn't really enjoy it. and I stopped playing the game. And now, sort of where I'm at with this game is that it is absolutely terribly balanced. I think Strive is a complete mess and an embarrassment. And I say
Holy
that.
shit. Okay.
I'll explain why. I'll explain why. This game was in beta for like 2 years. There's only 2 playable betas, right? The first one without rollback, the second one with rollback, right? So that's fine. During these betas and during these changes, the devs are releasing these sort of like patch notes, and they explain exactly in detail why they are changing certain things about the game, right? Developer backyards is what they call it.
Yeah.
Once the game comes out, done. Zip. Zero. The patch notes, they're decent, but when the game came out, and I didn't realize this until I played all of the previous Guilty Gears, is that Strive does not feel like Guilty Gear. Strive is like Street Fighter Strive is basically what it
Street
is.
Fighter Strive.
Right? It's unfortunate that the naming works that well.
Yeah.
But let's be real. We're all fishing for counter hits and just dealing 70% off of a counter hit combo, and that's what Strive is. Which is odd for Guilty Gear, because Guilty Gear is usually people running across the screen, not fishing for anything, just like absolutely mixing you and stuff like that. And the UI looks absolutely garbage. I'm sorry, it looks so bad. People
really?
like it. Yeah,
I
think
my personally, I never had an issue with it. The other ones seem very cumbersome.
That's why I like the other ones, because they were so loud and like rambunctious. Because it's like Guilty Gear. We're Guilty Gear. Go F yourself, right? like, and then Strive. It's like, hey guys, like I'm here, like. So, like after a while, the game is just completely balanced. The top 5 characters in that game feel completely different from the rest of the cast. Like, here's the top 5 of the cast, here's the rest of the cast. And I truly believe that way. Why would you play a certain character if this character does it better?
Mm-hmm.
And I just got frustrated. Now I start to realize that, you know what, I'm just going to have fun with the game, and if my friends want to play Strive, I will totally play it, and I'll have a blast with them. I'm never going to grind it again. Not until it gets significant patches. Number 1 being the damage reduced. That needs to get cut immediately. Okay? Yeah. I can't make one mistake and lose 70% of my life in that game. And that's just not a game that I enjoy. So I'm seeing myself out. And if you enjoy that type of game, then that's totally cool. I don't mind. I still think it's poorly balanced in my eyes, but like if you enjoy that sort of, volatile, just crazy, like round after round type of thing, then go for it, dude. That's all you.
Like, have you like put like the honest effort into each character that's been released in DLC to see if they mesh with you, or have they just like dropped and you're like, nope, not me, and just moved on?
Correct. Okay. Jacko, I was like, Jacko literally is worse than Zato and does the same exact type of pressure.
Okay.
Right? She's throwing minions, and I could just play around with Eddie 10 times better. I can maneuver Eddie around the screen, and Eddie just has better attacks than the Jacko minions do. So I was like, why would I ever play Jacko when I can literally just play Zato? Mm-hmm. Gold Lewis was just not my style. I really enjoy neutral, and I enjoy controlling the neutral. Therefore, like, his Behemoth Typhoons and stuff like that, a little too slow for my taste. His neutral game is really hard in a lot of his matchups. Happy Chaos is weird. I feel like I needed a lot more time on him. I will admit that, like, out of all the characters, I spent the least amount of time on Happy Chaos. Mm-hmm. And personally, I'm not a big fan of gun characters anyways. So that was
reload characters, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, I'm not really, like, interested in that whatsoever. Sure. So these characters kind of just disappointed me. And I think they're moving in the right direction. It's just going to take them a while. And I think the reason why Strive is doing so well right now is because Strive doesn't really have any competition.
Yeah, it's the game of the year.
But once these new games start coming out, and once the competition starts to get a little bit more stiff and out there, then I think Strive needs to kind of step its game up a bit and start, patching things, or at least being clear with the intentions. I think the number one thing that I'm bothered with is that we don't know exactly what the devs are thinking when they're balancing certain things anymore. It's like, oh, we took this thing, oh, we gave it back. Oh, whoops, May had a TOD glitch. Take that out. Whoops, haha.
Mm-hmm.
But she still does 80%. It's just not a TOD anymore. Like, I don't know what you guys are trying to achieve with your game, and that is embarrassing. And that's why I said it's embarrassing. I feel like a team should. I would respect a dev team a lot more if they were like, "Hey, this is exactly what we want the game to be." ArcSys and Team Red right now, what it looks like to me personally, it looks like they don't know what Strive is supposed to be.
Okay. I know I did get a lot of people comparing it to, it was a very Street Fighter 5-esque. A lot of people were comparing it to, it's like the new, it's Guilty Gear Street Fighter 5. Like, and which is confusing me because Street Fighter 5 is good to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, yes, I know good, yeah. SF5 had a lot of issues at launch, was bad at launch, but it's gotten, honestly, it's one of the better fighting games right now. Like, it's consistent. I think it was precise and tight is how I think Street Fighter 5 is a good way to word it. It's precise and tight. Is it glamorous? No. Not at all. But it's really tight gameplay. Okay. So you're going to obviously pick up Biken when she comes out. Do you think she's going to save you?
See.
Have you played Biken in any of the other games?
I've not.
Yeah.
I'm not like a huge Biken guy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Biken doesn't have players. They have fans. Freddie Papa.
Shout out Freddie and Drew.
Yeah.
Shout out Freddie and Drew.
All right. Well, you didn't really get to play this in while we're talking about how you said Guilty Gear Strive was in beta for 2 years. We had 2 betas a couple weekends ago. We had one for DNF Duel and KOF. How do you feel about just the way they handled the beta?
Okay. Because I was about to say I didn't play.
I know, that's why I'm asking.
Because they were on console, unfortunately.
Yeah.
How they handled it? DNF was kind of interesting, to say the least. I will say that. I feel like the most egregious thing was just sort of not being able to pick your character when you fought against the enemy NPC.
Mm-hmm.
A training mode would have been nice, because I feel like the sort of marketing team has been very, very hush-hush about the way the game works. And then the day of the beta, they were just like, hey, here's all the move lists. Good luck. So DNF was kind of a flop from what I saw.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see in the future what they change. I'm very interested to see what they change. Not just balance changes, but like what else. And KOF 15 is a game I have zero knowledge of.
Yeah.
So I can't really tell you how they handled that. But I heard it was better than DNF. So
I personally liked KOF far more. My biggest problem with DNF, it just felt like it wasn't done. Like, it felt like they threw the entire beta felt like it needs more time in the oven, is what I've been saying. That game needs to go back in the oven for a little bit. It doesn't seem bad. Like, the flavors are right? The flavor of the cake tastes fine, but I can tell that it's not cooked all the way. Put it back in the oven. That's how I kind of felt about it.
That's why it's a beta.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to play what it...
Yeah.
That's kind of like, here's a taste test.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is good so far. Just keep it up.
Yeah. Well, this one, it was maybe it needs a lot of time in the oven because I was pretty much drinking the liquid out of the cake. It was the batter was still liquid. All right, it wasn't the best.
Yeah, totally.
Well, looking into next year, Lumi, for 2022, what can we look forward to from Luminos?
Yeah. So in 2022, Expect to see my face a lot more.
Okay.
That's something for sure. I'll be doing a lot of stuff on both YouTube and TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
My YouTube series, Cross Up, which is a series of interviews in which I interview everyone you can think of from the scene, from players to content creators. Um, that will be up hopefully bi-weekly to weekly. So getting those stories out to the public, I love to do. Also, morning talks with Lumi and other segments on my YouTube will be, of course, uploaded not only just on YouTube, but on TikTok as well. So you'd never miss out on whatever platform you're on. And a little hint that I've been teasing as of lately is that I've been thinking about getting back into streaming as of 2022.
Alrighty.
So I'm thinking that maybe I drop a roadmap, maybe this first week of 2022,
Nice.
and stick to it and see what happens.
Oh, here's something. What do you think is the most memorable moment you've had this year in 2021? Moving into next year, something that you're going to take from 2021 to help you moving into 2022?
Good question. What would I take with me is what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Something that's going to be a good memory. Like, you know what? Or maybe a bad memory. Something that you're like, you know what? This is going to be something I'm going to make myself better with next year.
Yeah, I would say the thing that I'll tell you something I'm going to let go is sort of the laziness that has kind of waved over me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of, I guess I would have a lot of like image issues when it came to sort of the content I was doing, why I was doing content, and that just got in the way of me making cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make cool shit, and I realized over time that if I start to overthink and complicate these things, then I don't get to do the things I want to do. So for 2022, getting rid of sort of the overthinking and I guess imposter syndrome Lumi,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just gonna completely nose to the grindstone on making cool shit.
That's awesome, dude. Like, I'm very excited to see what Luminos 22 has in store for us.
Yeah, me too.
I had an awesome question that I just lost. No, wait, what was it? What was it? Oh, yeah. Okay, so what were your favorite videos that you made this year?
Oh, I like this question.
Yeah, give me at least 3 videos you made this year that you liked. 3 videos.
I'll give you in order.
All right, let's do it.
I'll even go that far. We'll do a tier list. So my number one video was my last video I put out, which was the KRC Pinto interview.
Okay.
And it was strictly because I had wanted to do an interview show for such a long time, like literally months. I wanted to do one. And for the longest time, I would either talk myself out of it, say that it already exists, stuff like that. And then I finally was like, just do it, dude. Just do it. And when I did it, when I hit upload on Christmas Day, which was when the KRC Pinto interview came out,
mm-hmm.
I felt such a sense of not only relief, but joy, realizing that I finally did something that I was agonizing over for like months. And now I've kind of caught the bug. I have like 3 interviews lined up this week.
Good stuff.
So
that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, it lit a fire under me, I suppose. But my second video, I'd have to say, easily, is the tutorial video for Street Fighter. So on TikTok, I did the how to read combos in Street Fighter, and I just went over like what notation looks like in that game.
Yeah.
That was probably my best edited video ever.
Yeah.
Just looking back at it, the editing I did on it was like just incredible. I used pretty much everything that I learned over the year of learning like Premiere and just how to chop up audio, clips, graphics, and stuff like that. So I think that was just a showcase of like what I learned. And then my third video would be the boxing video.
I knew it. It's so fun, dude. Just box, dude.
Just box, dude. That's easily my favorite video because of how spontaneous it was. I was just like, it was literally a shower thought.
Yeah.
And then after the shower, I filmed the video.
Yeah. Sometimes those are the best ones, dude. They really are some of the best videos. And that's kind of become your tagline now. Like,
just box.
just box.
Just box. Fight back. Fight back.
We need to get you to like start playing like TJ Combo or Belrog or something now, like Steve Fox, because you're the boxer guy now.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I'll play ball. I'll pick up Belrog.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played Belrog, ever. That's not true. I had to play him in Street Fighter 2 at one point.
Yeah, like, he's so cheap. You get him with the grab loops.
All right, I have one more question for you before we get out of here, and that is, what is like? I always talk about Bloody Roar. You've definitely heard me talk about Bloody Roar once or twice. Is there a fighting game that you want to be remastered or to come back for you personally? Like literally, you can contact any developer; they'll make it for you to have a remaster of something. What game would you want?
Interesting. This is a tough question. You know, this is a weird. This is tough for me because I wasn't a part of the arcade era.
Mm-hmm.
The 09, I was kind of in and out, and now I'm sort of, head first in this. I would really like to see an updated. Oh.
I stumped the Lumi.
Yeah, you stumped me, dude, really hard.
Like for me, like I know you mentioned that you played like some of the older Mortal Kombats when you were a kid and stuff. Like I love all those games, right? But like I would rather play like Bloody Roar because that's the one game that just has had zero love. So the fact that I know there's no like developers are gone, Hudson Soft has just been gone. It's not a thing anymore. So like to me, that's the reason I want to like get a hold of. There we go. What do we got?
Godzilla, Destroyer of the Earth.
That's a godlike pick. That is a godlike pick.
An updated Godzilla game would be godlike. Okay, yeah. Pun intended. But
I don't know if you saw this, but Ed Boon actually made a tweet. Like, what would you guys like if NetherRealm Studios made a kaiju or giant robot fighting game? Yes, like,
I would love that.
Of course we would. What are you talking about?
Not even a question.
Oh my god, like Godzilla, and then like what is that? Is it Ultraman? Like, oh my god, that'd be godlike, dude. I would love that.
Yeah.
And if they could somehow make fatalities with all those creatures.
Yeah, dude. They could, like, the possibilities are insane. There was a fighting game on PS2 called, it was like with all like the monsters, like you had like a King Kong, you had like your Godzilla, there's like a electric floating eyeball, there was like the
remember
mech.
I remember what you were talking about. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was called King of Monsters,
something like that. Yeah. I would love to see another kaiju game in that sort of like vein, right?
It's coming out soon. I think it's called Giga Bash. It was I recovered it during E3 because it was legit like the only fighting game that got announced. It was that style game where it was a kaiju fighting game with a bunch of weird looking creatures. They actually just announced a day or two ago where a building sprouts legs and arms, and it's a building that can eat things. Is one of the characters they just.
That's awesome.
And it's a 4-player game. Apparently, from what I've read, it has rollback. So like that'd be a fun game for like maybe like playing with streamers and stuff like that. But dude, that's a godlike pick. That's a really good pick.
Yeah, I had to dig deep for that one.
Yeah, really. All right, so as always, where can people find you? Go through your line of everywhere we can start following Luminos.
Sure. So follow me on all platforms. It's just Luminos. On TikTok specifically, I'm Luminos FGC.
Mm-hmm.
So you can follow me on that. And that is pretty much all my socials. I have TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube are the main three.
Good stuff, man. And I know you're going to hit it hard with YouTube this year. Is there anything you would like to tell the audience before we get out of here?
Yeah. Listen, if you want your favorite streamer or your favorite FGC creator to sort of talk about themselves for 30 to 40 minutes, show them my way, because what we're doing here is special, and I think it's going to take off soon.
Yeah. Let's cross them up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Lumi, thank you so much for coming to hang out today. I'm happy that you are my first second. I'm very happy that you're back. And also we get to put your actual new updated logo on the thing. I probably should go back and change that, shouldn't I?
Fine. Don't worry about it.
It's in the archive now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let it be. Let it live.
Yeah, good stuff, man. But all right, everybody, thank you so much for listening. We will see you guys soon. Don't forget to follow Luminos on all social media platforms that he mentioned today. I stream on Twitch every Tuesday and Sunday. Come and hang out. I also have a FGC TikTok account that you totally should be following. I do have a Patreon. If you have the funds, feel free to donate. I also want to mention my current Patreon users, Dark Matters. Thank you so much for being a supporter. If you liked the video today, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And of course, I'll talk to you guys soon.